Hey, this is Brandon McManus, Denver Broncos Super Bowl champion, and you're listening to The Scoop on OwlScoop.com.
Everybody, we're back. This is Season 4, Episode 35 of The Scoop. I'm John DeCarlo, joined by Kyle Gauss and Matt Vender. And we have a special guest with us this week in the palatial OwlScoop.com studios, otherwise known as my office. Chris Clark, assistant coach from Temple basketball team, joining us today. Chris, thanks for being with us today. You've known, obviously, this whole thing. You've been a member of the staff, and then the past year has been just this transition, waiting for this moment. Now that it's here, I'm sure 1,000,001 people have asked you this. Now we're going to ask you, what's it like? What's it like to kind of get a new start, kind of re-envision what you guys want to do for this program now?
Well, it's been a little weird, to be honest with you. Just seeing Coach Dunphy unpack, his office and, carrying things out of his office. Obviously, what he's done for me in my life and, all the guys on staff. That was, a hard thing to watch him do. But Aaron and Dunphy has been, great just to be, working for, and just their relationship and how Aaron has helped Dunphy and vice versa. Dunphy helping Aaron with this transition, going forward. Just nothing but supportive. But at the same time, it's been really exciting. Aaron's been great from day one, just setting the tone, setting the standard for the program, and I think our guys are really responding well. As of right now, we had 3 great days of working out. This past week, so it's been good. Adding the new guys as well, Coach Finity and Coach Ross. They've been great so far. So it's just an exciting time.
Aaron last week, as he always is pretty honest. And one of the things he said, "Hey, when I first got here, I'll be honest, I kind of felt like I had one foot in, one foot out. I wasn't really sure." But then you start looking around at these kids and you're like, how could I leave? And he's always been pretty honest. And even, as you kind of alluded to, it had to be an interesting thing. The whole coach and waiting thing doesn't happen in too many other places. What's Aaron been like when you look back to like where he was at this time last year from the outside looking in? It seemed like he was like excited but didn't want to seem too excited. I'm sure it had to be kind of weird for everybody. Now, like over the past year, what kind of like progression have you seen him making? You yourself, just kind of like you said, going through the transition, and now does it kind of feel like it's okay to be excited now and that whole thing? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, when you're going through the season and you're in that grind of just, preparing for games, trying to get guys better, you're not thinking about, next year, but, you sort of had to make decisions this year, that's going to have an impact on the following year. So, you had to sort of, especially with roster management, but, you try to stay locked in on game to game, focusing on, last year, preparing for each game, getting guys better. But Aaron, he's been great just as far as building a relationship with each guy. I think his focus is to make them better people. Because if you make them better people, ultimately they become better basketball players. He's been preaching that. He's been sitting down with guys individually, especially our returners and our seniors. Alani, Dame, Quentin Rose, Nate, Junior is in our junior class. JP, Dre, Justin, and he's sitting down with each guy and giving them roles, giving them goals for the summer. So I think that's been huge for our guys, just knowing where they stand, knowing, having goals they need to look forward to, this summer to accomplish, because every guy will be, important moving forward, especially our seniors. So I think that's the biggest thing Aaron sort of has laid, the last 2 weeks, just his foundation, his vision for the program. And he's talked about, Final Fours, winning the national championship. He said that during the press conference. So once you have that vision and have that standard, now every single day what you're working towards. And I think that's the biggest thing, for him just laying that foundation and moving forward.
Well, what's Aaron been like? You mentioned that you guys have had some workouts already. What's he been like now? Obviously he's in a different role, leading practice. What's he been like in that role, just as the head guy now?
He's a lot like the guys he played for. A little bit of Larry Brown, a little bit of Coach Chaney, a little bit of Coach Ellaby, a little bit of Coach Dunphy that he learned from. So, but just very, he's a great teacher and a great communicator. So he'll slow it down, he'll stop practice, and he'll tell a guy exactly what he needs to be doing. You know what I mean? And if you're not doing it, then he'll hold you accountable and make sure you are doing it. And if you're not, then you know what I mean? You're going to sit on the side or you may be out of practice. So I think he's been really direct. He's been focusing on teaching the guys and getting them to understand what they need to do in order for us to be successful. But, I mean, he's been great in giving us a voice, too, as assistants. He let us, sort of take the guards, the wings or the bigs and have our, 5 to 10 minute, session with those guys, whether it's watching film or shooting or footwork or whatever, we're doing that day. But I think he's just really been direct and just telling everybody what they need to do in order to make this program successful.
With that transition year, did you see more of an impact on knowing that Aaron's going to be the guy going forward? Did that impact the day-to-day in practice or the influence of the team, the style of the team? Looked like they ran more last year. So what was kind of the dynamic of that with Fran and Aaron kind of? You know what?
I think Aaron, he was in a tough spot, but I thought he handled it really well, him and Coach Dunphy, because, you got some guys who, will force their opinions and their, way, on the staff, and I didn't think Aaron did that. I thought, he was a team guy. He's always been a team guy. So, it was always what was best for the group. But yeah, I mean, he had, influence on how we played. I thought, he was always an advocate for playing faster and getting the ball up the floor, picking up 94 feet defensively. I thought Nate Pierre-Louis did a great job of that last year, and that's something that we're going to continue to do moving forward with Aaron now as the head coach. But yeah, he had a lot of influence on, our success, last year, no question about it.
You're in an interesting spot because you were recruited by John Chaney. You saw the end of the Chaney era. You saw the beginning of the Fran Dunphy era. And I could be dead wrong on this, but it seemed like Dunphy was not that he always seemed like he was tough on guys, but it seemed like he was really, really tough on guys and would have a quick hook for him earlier in his career. And then later on, he's kind of said, we talked about before, like he might wait until like a timeout to like really chew somebody out. I think it was a few weeks ago before the UConn game, you had said, yeah, sometimes we're on the sideline saying, like, get him out, and it's more Dunphy style to say, I'm going to get him on the timeout. What's it like now? Like, did Fran kind of, I don't want to say soften up, but did he maybe soften his approach, and now do you guys come in and say, all right, maybe we might get on a guy a little bit more before it gets to a timeout? Is that kind of fair to say about Dunphy, or has he always kind of been?
Yeah, I think Dunphy, I wouldn't say he's softened. No, I think he adjusted his style, towards the players that he had. You know what I mean? Because, when he first got there, he would, get in your face, tell you what you need to be doing better. But I think, as he, got older, he adjusted a little bit because he got different guys. You know what I mean? The guys that he coaches now were different than the guys that he coached at Penn or even his first years at Temple. So I think he adjusted sort of his style and his approach a little bit to, sort of meet the needs of our guys. And a lot of good coaches, you have to do that. You know what I mean? I don't think Coach K is coaching, the guys now the way he did, 20 years ago. But, yeah, I think Aaron, has a different style. Obviously Aaron's a little younger and, he's got different experience, background than Dunphy. So I think he will have a different approach as far as how he's holding guys accountable and his message toward the guys. But I do think that Aaron being here for 5 years working with Dunphy and knowing the guys and the program, I think that's going to truly benefit and help him his first year. Because it's not like he's new coming in, not knowing the guys, on the team or not knowing the layout of the program and, what we have. So I think that's going to be because, when Chaney retired and Dunphy came in, Dunphy made, a few tweaks. You know what I mean? And he's been relatively successful.
Right.
And I think Aaron, has that, same ability, and all he has to do is make, I think, a few tweaks. You know what I mean? Because we got a good roster coming back.
Right.
It's not like he's coming into a
yeah.
bad roster. So I think Aaron knows, he's got to make a few tweaks, and hopefully that can sort of get us some wins, moving forward.
This is probably the million-dollar question, but again, when we talked about this a few weeks ago, you had said sometimes we have lapses. Otherwise, when we don't, we feel like we can beat anybody in the country. Whether it's like maybe, I don't know, someone like maybe Q being a little inconsistent or someone missing a rebound or whatever. How do you tighten that up for next year to where you don't have those lapses? Knowing that every team has its ups and downs and stuff, but kind of breaking through that barrier to say, like, hey, whether it's getting Q to reach that next level or getting Nate to be like a little bit more under control, whatever, things like that. How do you think maybe a new voice does that, a new approach does that at the right time?
Possibly, but I think a lot of it's on the guys. You know what I mean? A lot of it's on Q, a lot of it's on Nate, and they've been working really hard. This off season, just being more engaged, more focused. Nate's been working tirelessly in the gym, working on his left hand, working on his shooting, working on his ball handling. So. Watching a lot of film. All of our guys been watching a ton of film of themselves. So I think a lot of it's on our guys, but I do think, the one thing that Aaron, can do is say, I've been through this. Right. You know what I mean? Like, where you want to be, I've been. You know what I mean? So I think there's something to be said about that. And Aaron did it as an assistant, but, it wasn't his program.
Right.
So now it's his program. So I think, the guys will respond a little differently now to Aaron's messages because he's now the head coach. So,
tell us about the staff. Now, I know there are some fans out there that are going to say, all right, you got Monty Ross. I think everybody knew and expected you were going to be back because you bring continuity, and that wasn't a surprise. And you got you, Monty, Jimmy Fennerty, and Aaron. And some fans are saying, like, well, okay, but all these guys are local. It's not really like you didn't get an AAU guy from the DMV or this guy or that guy. You think that's a fair assessment? You think that's kind of overblown? I want to give you a chance to respond to that. See what you think of that.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit overblown. I understand it, but I think it's a little bit overblown. Mott's been a head coach before. He's recruited all over the country. And Jimmy being at Lafayette, he didn't just recruit locally. You know what I mean? When you're at, Patriot League school, you got to recruit, all over. You know what I mean? And I think he's been doing a great job with our international search, bringing names up and having guys, in the 20 class and 21 class. So, I think, we need local kids, but, let's be honest. Aaron can probably get local kids by himself. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't need the assistants to get local kids. Now, do we have to do the dirty work? Absolutely, as assistants. But I don't know if he needs us as assistants to get Philly kids. So, and then my niche has been, North Carolina and Georgia. You know what I mean? And I'm actually going down there tomorrow to recruit. So that's sort of, my thing is try to get some guys down there. And Monte Ross, he's got a connection down there in that area too. Because played at Winston-Salem, and his son graduated from there as well. So he's got relationships down there in that area. So, I do think you'll start to see. Our roster next year could potentially not have a Philly kid on it, which may be the first time in Temple history that it's been like that. So, I get it. We're all local guys, but at the same time, I think we got relationships out there in different parts of of the country where we can get kids here at Temple.
How much of that's reflective of just how basketball changed? 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you think Philly school, Philly kids playing Philly style. Now you're in a conference with teams across the nation. You're on TV every time. How much of that is just, hey, we're going to get the best players anywhere because you don't necessarily need to recruit local because people are going to be able to see their kids play regardless?
Right. Yeah, I mean, AAU has, changed things a lot. I think being in the American Conference for us has changed because you don't have those rivalries anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like UMass and Rhode Island and, the Atlantic 10, you had so many GW. You know what I mean? You had so many rivalries, and the kids in the Northeast Corridor, they were familiar with those rivalries. You know what I'm saying? And now, we go to Tulsa,
Right.
like kids don't even know where Tulsa is located. You know what I'm saying? Like these kids out here, so the kids that we're recruiting. So it's changed, but I do think, this conference is really good. And I think it's going to continue to get better. And now, with Memphis bringing in high-level guys, UCF's been good. Cincinnati, unfortunately, they lost Mick. I don't know what they're going to do now, but they're a great program. Houston and what, Sampson has done there, I mean, they're going to continue to be very good. So, we can start to talk about, those schools in our conference. And now kids are like, yo, I want to play against the guys at Memphis, you know what I mean? Because they're getting high-level guys. Houston, I want to play against, I know who they are. I want to play against those guys. So I think it ultimately helps us being in this conference.
Is it fair to now? Obviously, you got a commitment from a player. You can't talk about him yet because he hasn't signed his paperwork. But over the past couple weeks, there's been just an uptick already in talent, depending upon who's coming in to visit, who you guys could be getting commitments from. Now, again, obviously, you and Aaron were kind of leading the charge over the past year, and you knew you had to recruit for this 2019 class. But now that he's the official face of the program, has not the pitch changed, but has the reception changed in the past couple weeks where you guys are out on the road talking to people? Is there a little bit of like extra juice now that he's the face of the program? Because it seems like, again, just the names that you guys are getting involved with, not that you didn't get good players before, but it's there's been a little bit of an uptick, it would be fair to say, right?
Yeah, there's been a lot of excitement around Aaron being named the head coach. I think, it allows, us to get in the mix with some kids that we maybe couldn't get in the mix with before. And I think, it doesn't has anything to do with Coach Dunphy.
Right.
I just think, Aaron's career, his playing career, playing with Allen Iverson, being on the Sixers, and, just his whole NBA career, kids, respond to that. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do a little more work, trying to figure out who, Coach Dunphy is than you do Aaron McKie. You know what I mean? And both of them are great in their own ways, but, kids, you can pull up a clip of Aaron McKie playing for the Sixers. Right. And now when a kid sees that, he's like, oh, man, I want to play for that guy. You know what I mean? Like, who is this guy? So, I think it's a little more buzz surrounding it, but now, you got to do the work. You know what I mean? Like, the honeymoon's over. You know what I mean? We got to get out and start taking advantage of, the buzz that we do have. So, and I think we'll do that, and I do think we'll be able to get involved with some high-level kids.
To follow up on that, how do you plan to, or how do you think you guys are going to fill out the rest of the roster with these couple open scholarships? I know you can't mention specific names, but just talk about, position-wise, what you'd like to see addressed. Yeah, you know what?
I think we got a good roster coming back, but, Shiz was a terrific player for us. I think, a lot of times he's underappreciated how good he was for us his senior year. Did a really awesome job. So, you got some perimeter, needs, especially at the point guard position. And then you also have, some 5-man, some forward needs. So those are the two spots that we're looking to fill. Your point guard and then your 5-man or your forward hybrid or whatever you want to say. So, but we feel good about the guys we're coming back. I think James Monty Scott will have a huge impact on our program, a guy that could really score the ball. I would say in practices, everybody knows how good Quentin Rose is. Well, Monty can go toe-to-toe with scoring the ball and just as good as Quentin Rose. And obviously we know how good Quentin Rose is. So, I think he'll have a huge impact. I think Dre and JP, they're getting a lot better, I think, with our new strength coach. They're buying in right away on nutrition and taking care of their bodies and getting flexible, getting stronger. Same thing with Justin Hamilton. He's going to have a big summer, huge summer. And all these guys have been great. They're staying for summer session 1 and 2. So they've been committed, just with the plan that Coach McKie has laid and the vision. for each and every guy. So, we got the pieces, man. And obviously, you got Nate, who's, terrific, on defense, just bringing that energy every single day to practice and the game. So we feel good about our pieces. And then our three seniors, Alani, Dame, and Q, they got to provide leadership for us. Line's got to have a big summer. Him and Dame. Dame's got to get stronger. He's got to get tougher. Line's got to get better. But we feel like we got good enough pieces coming back to be able to compete at the highest level in our league. So
let's mention this before we got some good mailbag questions here from readers. You mentioned the new strength coach. His announcement became official today. Yusuf Bray's been with you guys for about a week, and a few people I've talked to already said this is a home run of a hire. What can you say about him so far, just what you've seen from him, just being around the guys?
Just his energy. His energy has been terrific, man. His first day on the job, which was Monday, he had lunch with Justin Hamilton, and he sort of laid out a plan for Justin, how he's going to get him stronger. And just, his command of the room. And he's young. He's only 26, but he's been around, a lot of great strength guys. He's, worked at the University of Illinois. He works out a lot of pro guys, Miles Leonard, Anthony Simons, who went to IMG Academy. Yeah. So he's got a good feel for people, and he does a great job of building relationships with guys to help them off the court. You know what I mean? And I think that's the most important thing. Once you can build a relationship with the guys that we have, now they'll buy into whatever you're saying. And I think he's done a really good job of that since he started.
All right, so we have a lot of good questions from some fans who chimed in on our message boards on Twitter and stuff, so we'll throw some of these your way. This comes from a message board poster. This is probably answered some of these already, but we'll throw a few of these at you. This comes from North Broad on the message boards. Great get as a guest. Chris, your initial impressions, you kind of touched on this already, but your initial impressions of Monty and Jimmy as Temple assistants.
They've been great, man. Obviously, Mont brings a lot of experience, from being a head coach. So that's going to be, vital for us and for Aaron, just, having that head coach perspective, on our staff. And he's been terrific just to work with. And, we eat lunch every day. We're always in the conference room just talking and busting on each other. You know what I mean? So the camaraderie is there. And Jimmy's been, he probably works too hard. You know what I mean?
Like that's what everybody says. You bring up his name and everybody, it might sound cliche, but everybody I've talked to, and these are like non-Temple people, are like, he works really hard. Everybody just says that.
He's always on the phone, man. He gets there probably at work at like 7:30 a.m. and he's leaving at 8:30 p.m. You know what I mean? So he's a worker, and, that's what you need. You need a guy that's going to burn the phones, get out and recruit guys. I think he's out tomorrow as well recruiting. So both guys, man, they bring, obviously two different perspectives, but, they're great for us, and they fit who we are as people most importantly. I mean, Aaron, he knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? He knows who he wants to hire, who fits into what he wants to do, with this program. So two really good guys and great coaches.
Another question here from North Broad. Talk about any and all involvement you had recruiting Chris Clemens while on the staff at Campbell.
Oh, CC.
He's had a hell
of a career, man. I was a part of that recruiting of Chris Clemens. I remember going to his house, having a home visit with him and his family. Just a great kid, man. Really great kid. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to coach him because when he committed in what was it? Maybe October. October, November. I left that June to come here. You know what I mean? So didn't get a chance to coach him, but unbelievable. I actually saw him out in Minnesota. He was playing with Shiz. He was on the same team. But yeah, honestly, it doesn't surprise me what he did at Campbell. Doesn't surprise me because when you watched him in high school, he was like Nate Robinson. Just athletic, can shoot, can score, got that aggression, got that chip on his shoulder. It wouldn't surprise me if he snuck into camp and makes a roster. It would not surprise me.
30.1 points per game last year.
Yeah, he could score, man. He could score. And the thing about him and what I'm proud of is he went to the right level. Like, could he have played at UNC Greensboro or NC State, Maybe. Yeah, he probably could. But he went to the right level, and obviously he had a hell of a career. And I think that's important, man. Really important for kids to make sure they go where they want you, not where you want to go. You know what I mean? He went somewhere where we wanted him bad. He was our number one guy on the board, and he got the numbers to show for it. He made the right choice.
Maybe one more here. North Broad had 6. We're not going to get to all these questions. Maybe this one. Give us a player you think could make a big jump from last season to this season.
Oof, we're going to need all of them to make a big jump. It's a good question. I will say Justin Hamilton. If we're going to be the team we need to be, he's going to have to be one of the best 5 men in our league. So I think, and he's got the potential to. I sort of think everybody knows what Nate's going to give us. Quentin obviously got to make some steps, but he's pretty much, we know what he is. JP, Dre, we sort of know. Monty, obviously new guy, but I think Justin has the most potential, and he's got to start to reach that. So I would say he's got to have the biggest jump, or should have the biggest jump this summer.
It's another one from a message board from the screen name Vanter.
Oh, real quick, I'm actually going to make the executive decision here because I want to ask this one.
All right, go ahead.
Also from North Broad, talk about your recruitment to Temple.
Yeah.
Oh man, my recruitment. So it's my senior year. We just finished winning the Catholic League championship. We go down to Alhambra to play in the Alhambra tournament in Maryland.
John Griffith was on that team.
Yep, me and John Griffin. Reggie Redding was a sophomore.
Mark, you played Mark Zoller?
Yeah, but that was my junior year.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark was a senior when I was a junior. Okay. So I had a bunch of schools in to see me. Drexel. I remember Brew coming to a lot of my games. Obviously, all the Big 5 guys that came to the game. I mean, it was obviously Villanova didn't, but we had spring workouts, and Fran McCaffrey, who was at UNC Greensboro at the time, and he told me, "Yo, man, I want you to come to Greensboro. Like, let's get you on a visit. Let's get you down." And I was like, "All right, cool. Like, I know him. He knows my family." So I was scheduled to go down there that month. It might have been sometime in March. And Coach Chaney called Speedy and said, I guess they had a scholarship come open. Said, I want Chris to come here and play for Temple. And then after that, the Greensboro visit got canceled, and I was at Temple.
Did Fran pick up the phone and yell at you like he yells at everybody else?
I think he might have yelled at Speedy. He didn't yell at me. But it's funny how Aaron, we all talk about it. Like back then, you sort of went where your coaches or parents told you to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but, yeah, right. So, and my uncle Dana played for Coach Chaney at Chaney University. They won a championship there. So Chaney knew my family. You know what I mean? Knew my my parents, my uncle, my grandparents. So it was like, all right, if they offer you a scholarship, that's where you're gonna go. Where it probably would have been a better fit initially for me to go to Greensboro because I would have played right away. Right. You know what I mean? But, when Coach Chaney come calling, you really got no choice. So,
well, quick follow-up to that before we get to the next one. What was it? Because, you were, again, one of the many cool things about your story is, again, you're now part of, like, a couple of transitions. But, the season that you had as a senior to get Temple to the tournament and get them started on that string of 6 straight, 6th man of the year in the league. You hit 51, 52 threes that year. Your game really took a big step up. What changed for you that year? What? Because you could always shoot coming out of high school. What changed for you where you really kind of just reached your potential that year and had the year that you had?
Well, I think that summer I had a really big summer. Like I worked my hardest, and I thought I was a pretty hard worker in high school and my first couple years in college. But that summer, I probably didn't miss a day of workouts. I worked out every single day, working on my body, working on my game, playing one-on-one, going to John Harnett workouts, playing in the Sunny Hill League, playing down at 8th Street with the old heads that I used to play with down there. So, I mean, I just worked really hard to try to be the best version of myself. And, I mean, a lot of it's just confidence, too. You know, I mean, I started to get really confident, you know, halfway through my senior year. And, you know, I was able to, you know, help our guys. But just believing in yourself, you know what I mean? But I worked pretty hard. Worked pretty hard to contribute to help that team win a championship.
My first game as a student, quarter 3 versus Ohio.
Oh yeah, for the win. That was for a win.
Yeah, and then later on, that season was interesting because you guys actually struggled a bit. You were like a 500
Yeah,
team until
yeah,
to get hot,
right?
And then the win against St.
Right.
Joe's, that team really came together.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
Forgot about the game-winning shot against Ohio.
I forgot about that. That was at home.
I remember.
Christmas fouled like a 3-point shooter.
Yes.
Or something like that. Yeah, he fouled and they made 2, and that put them up 2 or 2.
They were up 1.
They were up 1. Okay, yeah.
Covered that game. I'm getting old.
That's funny.
I was like 18.
I'm getting really old.
That's funny.
To the next one from the message board. This is a two-parter. From a recruiting perspective, what, if anything, does the staff plan to do differently moving forward with recruiting? And what is the biggest obstacle that Temple needs to overcome when recruiting within Philadelphia?
Biggest obstacle? It's a good question. I mean, I don't know if it's an obstacle. I think it's just the right fit, getting the right kids, you know, making sure they understand how important it is to stay home and play for, and not only Temple, but, you know, you got 5 other schools that are really good programs, you know what I mean? So, you know, I'm biased, of course, but I think, you know, playing in the Big 5 is something really special. And, you know, hopefully we can get kids to understand that and stay home. And it's not just Temple. If we can get kids to stay home, you know, to go play for LaSalle and play for St. Joe's and play for Drexel and Villanova, then I think it makes Philadelphia basketball just a lot better. I mean, can you imagine if guys like DeAndre Hunter stay home? You know what I mean? Like, you know, those type of guys, and they play for Temple or Villanova or St. Joe's. You know what I mean? Like, that would be special for Philadelphia basketball. So, you know, and I think Aaron will do a good job with that, getting kids to sort of understand. And I think the good thing about it is kids can relate to his story. So, you know, if he's telling his story, and, you know, you could be the next Aaron McKie, you know, I think kids sort of can visualize and relate to that.
Next one from the message board. The screen name here is Hootie Hoot. How do we plan to address the departure of Ernest Flackby and the center position in general?
Yeah, so Ern towards the end of the year was fantastic. You know, he sort of played through injury this year with his back. But, you know, I think between Damian Moore and Arashma Parks, you know, I think those 3 could be, you know, a pretty good 3, rotating them in and out. Obviously, Justin has the most potential, but I think those 3, they're all different. You know what I mean? Justin is more versatile, can play inside, play out, long athlete. I think Damian Moore, you know, he's more skilled around the basket, can make a 15-footer as well. And then Arashma, who redshirted, he's different than both guys. He's more of a banger. He's more of a bruiser. And he's gotten a whole lot better in this short amount of time, you know, his redshirt year. I mean, got a whole lot better. But I think he's a guy that can catch lobs, you know, can be physical. He played football all his life. He only been playing basketball for 4 or 5 years. So the physical piece and the athleticism is there, but now the skill has to sort of catch up. So if he can, you know, do that, I think he'll have a chance to play, you know, some minutes for us this year at the 5. So, you know, I think we'll be okay at that position.
You know, it's an off the beaten path question, non-basketball related, from the message board. We'll throw this one at you too. This comes from JHG722 from a message board. Give me your perfect summer grilled meal, including sides and a beverage.
Summer grilled meal?
Yeah. You big grill? I mean, do you grill a lot?
Yeah, I try to get East Falls.
East Falls?
Yeah, live in East Falls. You know what? Me and my wife we've been trying to eat healthy. So we've been staying away from meat. It's been killing me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, hands full, 3 kids.
I know, and that's the hardest part because, like, you know, my kids, they love Chick-fil-A. So, you know what I mean? Every weekend, they like, Dad, can we go get Chick-fil-A?
And you have to be the bad guy and say no?
Oh, I don't say no, but when you go, it's like
they get it, you can't.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. I don't know. I struggle with the discipline part of that sometimes. So, I mean, I love salmon. You know, I can eat salmon every day. Rice, corn on the cob. I like grilled corn on the cob, some vegetables. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty simple, man. I'm not picky.
Are you guys as disciplined or no? You are.
I've been trying to be. I've been trying to work out.
Certainly am not.
Been playing some pickup.
It's hard, man.
What about you, Chris?
Hard.
Are you playing any pickup anymore?
Yeah, I still play. We actually play. We try to play like 3 times a week. You know,
you get in the rec gym with Aaron?
Yeah. Me, Coach McKie, Raheem Mapp. Who else plays with us? Mark Huber, our video guy. We'll get some of the grad assistants. And then on the road, so we'll go to, let's say we play Tulsa on a Saturday. We'll try to get the gym Friday night, and we'll go play pickup Friday night, you know, with our staff, and then we'll try to get a couple of the managers from the opposing team to play. So,
who's the best guy on the staff right now?
In the half court, Aaron McKie.
Okay.
But if we start playing full court, he get tired. He'll get tired.
Next question from the message board. This comes from the screen name Mission Man. So he's essentially saying you 3 years ago you had the opportunity to leave your video coordinator position, become a new full-time assistant coach. Three years later, you have the most tenure on the staff. How have you seen your responsibilities evolve over the last 3 years? And I mean, essentially, maybe what's it like now as opposed to when you first got here, coming back to the program? Is Aaron, are you that trusted guy that Aaron's looking to all the time? How have things changed over the last 3 years?
Yeah, I think our relationship, you know, has grown since I first got here. And Aaron is funny, man. If I could find this picture, I don't know if I have it, but Aaron actually, when he was here in school, Aaron used to volunteer down at the church where I went on 7th and Norris, Midtown Parish Church.
Okay.
So I'm gonna see if I can find this picture. But so we've known each other for so long. Obviously, you know, when he was playing, I was a guy that looked up to him, like almost all the Temple guys, you know, that played, you know, after him. But yeah, I mean, we talk every night. You know, he's asking me about program stuff, you know, roster, you know, scheduling, you know, everything. And I think he's really given me a role, you know, within the staff to be able to do all those things. And, you know, I'm very appreciative of being on the staff. You know, I think he values how hard I work and how committed I am to the program and to him. And I want to see him, you know, in the Final Four. I want to see Temple in the Final Four, and you know, I'm gonna work my hardest to do so. But Aaron is just good people, man. Just good person. Really cares about the kid and about the kids and about the program. And you know, I'm very lucky and fortunate to be a part of his staff.
I guess it's something we probably don't talk about enough. Is that it's like, yeah, when the transition was announced, it was almost just kind of like known. Okay, Aaron's probably going to retain Chris, but like you just touched on this a little bit, but like how appreciative are you of that? Because I mean, he could have, if he wanted to, said, yeah, I'm going to completely wipe the slate clean, but it was just kind of known, I'm keeping Chris, and you guys were close. What do you think it was about you where that was never really a question in his mind that you were going to stay here?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, I think I work pretty hard. I think I'm a good guy. You know, I try to do what's best for the team and what's best for the kids. So, you know, again, I'm very. I don't like talking about myself, but I think I'm just very fortunate to be a part of his staff. But, you know, I think we get along. You know what I mean? I think we sort of understand each other. You know, we understand what Temple is and the type of kids that, you know, we need in order to be successful. And, you know, ultimately, I think, you know, we're just good people. You know what I mean? We connect, we fit. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, the next couple years, man, just working with him and hopefully getting this thing moving.
Next question also from the message board from the screen name what to you, Chris. What's the biggest difference in personality you think between Dunphy and Aaron? You kind of touched on this already. And does Aaron ever show he still got it in practice? And if yes, does he in fact still have it? But maybe touch on that first one. And I'm sure you get asked this a million times. You kind of talked about it a little bit already. They're both fiery guys, Dunphy and Aaron. What is the biggest difference between them, or are they more similar than people think?
I think they're more similar than what people think, to be honest with you, man. And I think the most important thing, and since I've been around Aaron, and obviously playing for Dunphy, playing for Chaney, playing for Speedy, I think, and what Aaron's really good at is if he can make you a better person, then the basketball will take care of itself. You know what I mean? I think that's sort of his goal, and I think that he gets that from Dunphy. I think he gets that from Chaney, from Coach Ellaby. You know what I mean? If he can make you a better person, the basketball, he's done his job first and foremost. The basketball will take care of itself. Aaron's going to get you better. Like, that's just what he does. He'll get you better. But if he can, get you better from the neck up and obviously becoming a better person, better student, and eventually a good husband, a good father, then, he's done his job. And I think that's truly, why he's in it. And, he's got a little bit of all those guys, man, to be honest. Like, he's a little bit of Dunphy, he's a little bit of Chaney, he's a little bit of Coach Ellaby. So I think that's sort of been his message to us as a staff, like, let's get these guys better as people. And if we can do that, the basketball is going to take care of itself.
Is it harder, you mentioned a little bit of this before, is it harder to do that now because of all the outside influences? Like you said, even when you were coming up not too long ago, it was like, oh, my high school coach Speedy saying like maybe you should go to Temple. It was like the parent, the high school coach, and that was pretty much it. And then whatever the player wants to do now, it's like this guy's in the mix. Like you have to know, who's in the mix, who the voices are in the room. Is it harder to get kids to buy into like, we want to make you a better person? Do they kind of like shrug that off and be like, oh, that'll take care of itself, I want to be the better basketball player? Is it harder to get that piece of it?
Yeah, no question, because you got a lot of guys that, you got a lot of handlers now, you got all these people influencing these kids, and then social media doesn't help. But, I think once you get them in the room, and Aaron's been great, man. I think he alluded to this at his press conference too, like, He don't want to talk about a whole lot of basketball with these kids. Now, that's what they want to hear, and you do have to do that, obviously. But the basketball will take care of itself if you buy in, you work hard, you're committed. The basketball piece will take care of itself. You will get better. But if you don't buy into being, a better student, a better person, a better teammate, and be tough and work hard, then you're probably not going to be able to play at Temple. And I think that's sort of been his message to the recruits that we will have coming in the next couple of weeks is, you're here because obviously we think you're a good basketball player. We wouldn't recruit you if we didn't think you're a good so you're here for a reason. But now, like, all right, here's are the things that you need to work on to become a better person, a better student, and that will have a direct impact on you as a basketball player. So I think those are the things. I mean, if he's really like a life coach, to be honest with you. Like, and you could make the same case for Coach Dunphy, for Coach Chaney, Coach Ellaby, Coach Mars. Like they coach life. You know what I mean? And I think Aaron is no different. Now he's got the NBA career and he's got the pedigree. Then the rest of those guys playing in the NBA for 13 years. But, I think that's what he does best. He teaches life.
His last question, this comes from Twitter. You kind of already touched on this. We'll kind of reframe it a little bit. Steve Oscar Reggie on Twitter is saying, can Erasmus Parks compete for the backup center spot with Damian Moore? You talked about those guys a little bit. Maybe I'll ask you with Erasmus, when did you, at the beginning of the year, you didn't hear his name come up as much, but then sometimes in press conferences you'd hear that maybe some of the guys would just kind of drop his name in and say, oh, he's kind of started to flash a little bit more in practice. When did you guys start to see a little bit of progress out of him to the point where you feel like he can maybe play a few minutes?
Well, honestly, it happened probably the last month of the season because he got hurt during the year with his shoulder, so he didn't practice half the year. the last month or so, and now, he had a really good day yesterday against Justin Hamilton. He had an outstanding day. So just within the last, I would say, February, March, and obviously a little bit of April, he's been doing some good things out on the court. And his biggest thing, and we tell him all the time, is just he's got to get in better shape. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you can't get in shape, then it's going to be hard for you to play and help. Because, he is physical, he is strong, he is an athlete, but his skill level is not where it needs to be in order to really contribute right now. So we tell him all the time, the way you get on the floor is by competing, rebounding, defending. That's how you're going to help us next year. Because he's not as skilled as Justin. He's not as skilled as Damian Moore. So if you can do those things, rebounding, defending, playing with energy, now you have a role on our team, and now you'll be able to get minutes and help us. So.
One last question I had, and jump in, guys, if you want to. Regarding Damian Moore, he's had his ups and downs. I mean, last year, whatever it was, November, December, goes for 20 and 10 against South Carolina. He's seen his minutes fluctuate. What's possible for him, and what does he have to do to get to some of the potential that he's flashed here?
Yeah, Dame's got to get tougher. I mean, Dame's he's a great kid. Love having him around. Phenomenal dude, man. He's a phenomenal dude. Very funny. Mm-hmm. Come from good people, really good family in Mississippi. I think he just got to get a little tougher. Mm-hmm. He's got to want it more. But I think he's got all the tools. I really do, and he's got size. But he's got to get stronger this summer. He's not very strong in his legs. Yeah, right. So, and that's why Brady, he's got a huge role for us in helping these guys get stronger, and I think he'll do a great job with that. But Dame, I think, will have a great summer, and you'll be able to see his improvement next year and what he's capable of. And I think playing for Coach McKie, I think, that's going to be beneficial for him. But we're expecting Dame to have a huge summer. I mean, we're hoping that he's competing for that starting spot with Justin Hamilton. Mm-hmm. And if he can do that, it's just going to make both guys a lot better. So,
before we let you go, I know you said you don't like to talk about yourself, but I'm going to ask you something about yourself before we let you go. What are some of your career aspirations? You're still a relatively young guy, so what you eventually hope to become a head coach? Like, what are some of your career aspirations? I'm going
to deflect a little bit. Here, that's the picture I was talking about. So you can't see me because I'm sitting down on the floor. But this is, this might be, and I'll show you Kyle in a minute. That's Coach McKie. That's a couple of my cousins there. This is at Midtown Parish Church where he came and volunteered. This is when he was playing.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah. You can't see me. I'm sitting down there on the floor.
So when he's at Temple, or is that?
It's Temple. He was still at Temple, volunteering. I think he was a senior.
That's awesome.
Doing some internship at our church. So a couple of my cousins there in the background. I'm on the floor. You can't see me. So, but how cool is that? You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Like,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
So next
Good job
question.
deflecting.
Actually, kind of want to segue. We'll poke a little fun here. I actually brought up the AP story from that Ohio game. How do you think they describe you in that AP story?
Oh man, I don't know. 5'8",
smallest player on the court hits the shot.
Of course.
At what point did that become like? It's no longer. It's like you could laugh at yourself about it. It's no longer just a chip.
You know what? It was when we played Duke my junior year, and I actually played well. Mm-hmm. Down there. And we're coming out on the court, and the Duke fans, they're the Duke Cameron crazies. Right. And, they're getting on our guys, they're getting on us, and then all of a sudden you just hear a guy say, "Hey, number one, the ball boy's taller." And then the whole gym is just screaming, "The ball boy's taller." And that's when I was just like, man, like, it is what it is. Yeah, man, it is what it is at this point, man. But yeah, I mean, to go back to your question, Matt, yeah, I've got aspirations of being a head coach, hopefully someday. But I'm happy at Temple. My wife's happy. My kids, they're growing up, seeing their grandparents every day. So that's important to me, you know what I mean? And I love Temple. I went to Temple Daycare on Broad and Jefferson. Yeah, you didn't even know that building right there was a daycare. Yeah.
Wow.
So this is home, man. I'm probably one of the luckiest guys in the world to work at your alma mater and be a coach, assistant coach here. So, just like Aaron in that press conference, I got those same sort of butterflies and feelings that he has just being an assistant. So, I would love to be a head coach one day, but right now I'm focused on getting, Temple better, helping Coach McKie and the staff, be the best that we can be. And I'm really happy doing that. Really happy.
Chris, this was a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do this again soon. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank
Chris.
you. Yeah, thanks. Yep.
All right, so that was a lot of fun. Some great stuff from Chris Clark. Real quick before we transition into the next piece of the show here, what were some of the highlights of the conversation from you guys? What stood out to you?
I mean, I think it's just not even necessarily just with Chris, but just I think there's just general excitement around the program, and it came out through Chris today. Seems like the transition to McKie has gone the way people expected it to go, and Chris is obviously a very humble guy. He's always been a very humble guy, and I think he's a good contrast to Aaron. I think Aaron can still kind of, I would normally use a phrase here that I wouldn't want to use during a podcast, but he can kind of lay his stuff on the table here and show, like, I played in the NBA, I was a 13-year career. And you have Chris, who is an average type of success story. He was a smaller, under-recruited guy that's worked his way into being a Division I lead assistant, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think you kind of talked about that just in the way Aaron's been running practices. I mean, they've already been active and have holding workouts with the team. Thought it was interesting how he talked about the new strength coach and their plan. New strength coach already met with Justin Hamilton. They sat down and had lunch and kind of mapped out the rest of the summer.
Justin Hamilton's like, I'm full. He's like, no. He's just like,
right. Yeah, they went to J&H, had maybe 4 plates of food, but
Fourth meal, fifth meal, whatever it is.
yeah, I'm sure they're gonna get him on the unlimited meal plan for
I'll
sure.
bring Taco Bell back just for this. It did wonders for me. It'll do wonders for me.
It did wonders. Yeah, Brady Welsh, who was announced today. Again, we're recording this on a Wednesday. Named the Director of Men's Basketball Sports Performance. So again, he's going to be their new strength coach. Was at IMG Academy. Just mentioned his name to a couple people today, and they said he's an absolute stud of a hire, and Chris spoke pretty highly of him. And again, that's been a topic that's continued to come up. Shiz mentioned it with our new strength program. Didn't get a chance to really talk about the weight room upgrades. Pat Kraft did mention it last week, but some exciting things going on there. Now, just transitioning out of this, what Chris couldn't talk about, Josh Pierre-Louis' paperwork. I guess he can sign a national letter of intent,
Apparently.
but he won't sign for another week.
Yeah, later this month.
Yeah, so we couldn't officially ask Chris about Josh Pierre-Louis, who is coming in, so he's a key piece for 2019. Can't talk about recruitable athletes. Matt did break the news. I mean, Matt's talked to Ty Strickland, the Wisconsin transfer, and then reported on our message board earlier this week that Ty Strickland is coming in for his official visit this weekend. That sounds pretty favorable for Temple, I would say, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we talked, it was only about a week ago when we talked, and he seemed very much interested in Temple. I think, Temple seemed like they have, the edge here, but, Texas Tech, as he said, was still in the mix. It sounds like Temple's his only visit scheduled right now. That could change, but, I mean, I think if all goes well this weekend, you could see something wrapped up by Sunday.
And the other piece of information to keep an eye on is that Jake Forrester from West Town just finished up his freshman year at Indiana, has announced his intention to transfer, and it sounds like Temple's in pretty good shape for him as well. So if he comes, now you're adding an athletic 6'8" forward, get you in at West Town, a place that's been hard to get into for Temple. They tried with Daniel Shefu and numerous other guys.
Daniel Shefu went to Downtown East.
Briefly, right? Yeah. It's quite the natural progression for him to finish up in good old Chester County. So again, Chris couldn't comment on those guys, but it looks like both of them could be, headed in Temple's direction, which would again change the complexion of the roster in terms of, now, could one of those guys get eligible for next year? I don't know. Everybody tries to pursue a hardship waiver, but I think that they're in an interesting position now where it could be a pleasant problem to have. Now, again, they'll be able to make room for both guys if they want to come, Strickland and Forrester. Haven't gotten official word on it, but it looks like Quentin Jackson is no longer going to be part of the program. So you have space for these guys, but could be adding 2 talented pieces. So we'll obviously keep an eye on that, but a commitment from Ty Strickland could be something to keep an eye out for, and maybe a commitment from Jake Forrester, again, who was a top 50 recruit, a 4-star kid,
right.
Coming out of Westtown, had some big offers. Again, something else to keep an eye on there.
I mean, you have a very legitimate chance that in the span of 20 days, you added a talented guard, Josh Pierre-Louis, a transfer in Ty Strickland, and a former top 150 guy in Jake Forrester, which is pretty much what every Temple fan's been wanting to hear for the last 8 years.
Yeah, Hakeem Hart, people have asked about him. I think he's taking an official visit to Maryland this weekend. We'll see what happens there if Temple remains in the mix with him. Jacob Toppin, who's at Woodstock Academy, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, a kid that was in for the UCF game. Temple likes him a lot. Sounds like he's a late bloomer like his brother. Obi, who's at Dayton, who's now being mentioned as a future pro. So we'll see what happens there. But again, a little bit of a different thing this time as opposed to years past where they were kind of scrounging for, I don't know, like a guy like Quentin Jackson,
right?
Last year, and now you've got some talented names in the mix. So we'll obviously keep the basketball conversation going in the coming weeks. Let's touch on a little bit of football recruiting before we get to the rest of the mailbag questions that were not so much Chris Clark specific. Temple added 2 verbal commitments over the weekend. You had a chance to talk to both of them and talk about those guys and just what they're bringing to the program.
Yep, so both commits, Rob Longerbeam from down in Virginia, Alex Odom, local kid from over in South Jersey, Kingsway High School, my neck of the woods, I guess. So he's these 2 guys were both on campus 2 weeks ago for the Saturday practice, or I'm sorry, the Friday night practice, and then they came back this past Saturday, and both were offered, over that week period, picked up the offers, had a couple days to think about it, come back to practice, and they sit down with Carrie and both commit. I think Temple had a good feel for the fact that they were going to commit heading into it, but Alex Odom's probably going to project as a safety, maybe even as an outside linebacker. Longerbeam probably going to be a corner. Both guys play quarterback, so that's something that you might like out of an athlete. Odom's a kind of a freak athlete where he's 6'1", 190, pretty far along considering the fact that he still has a whole year of high school left. So physically, he looks the part, and maybe we'll have a chance to play right away at that safety spot. 6'1", 190, plays basketball, plays lacrosse, so a 3-sport athlete. Really seems like a good get, but probably a kid that's going to add some offers, once the camp season rolls around and into his senior year. But we have two stories up on the site on the guys, so check out the stories. And obviously you should probably subscribe because you would have known about Ty Strickland 2 days ago if you were an outside subscriber.
I love it. Ding. Matt bringing the subscription fire. And just a reminder, I mean, it's funny. We've been, I don't want to say super football centric over the past couple of years, but there's been more of a buzz about basketball with Aaron officially becoming the next head basketball coach at Temple. And the last couple of episodes have been fairly basketball centric, but a reminder that the Cherry and White Fest is coming up Saturday. We'll have coverage of that. So again, it's not a game this year, but it's going to be the equivalent, we understand, of basically like if you were to go cover an Eagles training camp practice. So hopefully we'll be able to. Yeah, exactly. Except at 13th and Oxford or wherever it's going to be. But yeah, we'll have coverage of that. And in case you missed it from Saturday, going to cover Saturday's practice, we've talked about how Aaron Bumeri has left the program. So it sounds like Rod Carey is going to try to bring in some competition for Will Mobley. When I asked him about that on Saturday, I said, well, I guess you must feel pretty good about Will. And I don't know if it's fair to say he kind of gave a lukewarm response. He was like, he's good, he's competing, but with Will, I think it was 10 of his 76 kickoffs or something like that went for touchbacks. Sure. So he's not a super strong leg guy, although he was fairly accurate. So it sounds like they're going to, he said they're going to try to bring in some other kickers. You had the story on the junior college punter, Adam Barry, who's coming in. And again, that story's been up on the site. So we'll have coverage.
Yeah, it's been on our outlet for about 5-6 days.
Yeah. So we'll have coverage of Saturday stuff. In case you missed the story from last Saturday's practice, Rod Carey did mention that Onassis Neely hurt his knee I don't know what the official diagnosis is, but he said that there's a chance that he could miss his freshman season. And then Ramon Davis still hasn't been cleared officially, it sounds like, by the NCAA. So when I asked him, okay, does that tell you that you might need to go out and maybe get a grad transfer back or a JUCO? He's like, I'm not there yet. He's like, I like the competition. It's just that guys have been dinged up. So
one thing that's kind of stood out to me from that in the past couple of days, and we've hinted about the opposite before, is that Kyle Dobbins' name is starting to come up a little bit.
Yeah, which is what you want to hear, right?
Yeah, yep. So, I mean, Dobbins had some big offers coming out of high school, and it seems like it might be starting to make good on that promise.
Yeah, so again, we'll definitely have, although we haven't talked as much football, we will definitely have some more football stuff coming up in the coming days. And again, keep an eye on, on basketball recruiting stuff. And we'll hope to get to talk to some of the other basketball assistants, Monte Ross, Jimmy Fenerty, and get that into the mix. So the next several weeks will be packed as well. So we do have some mailbag questions to finish up here that were not specifically for Chris Clark. So we have a few here to finish up. This one comes from Temple J on the message boards. Can NPL's brother run the point next year, referring to Josh Pierre-Louis? So the answer is yes.
Sort of ish, yeah.
Yeah, it's like more of a scoring point guard.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, if they entered the roster, if they had to play a game tomorrow with the guys that are currently signed or about to sign, I feel like they're going to kind of use almost a committee a little bit at point guard. I don't think you're going to see a point guard right now that runs 35 minutes a game running the point. And I think Josh, along with Damian Moore, along with Nate Pierre-Louis, along with Quentin Rose, can all run the point to an extent.
Yeah. Next question from the message board. Skay PhD is the handle here. Long question, but we'll plow through this here. A lot of this stuff has been talked about already. Thweet, meaning Taj Thweet, is everybody's choice, but he seems lukewarm about Temple at best. I would call that an absolute stretch. That's nowhere near true. Apparently his first choice is Kansas University, like University of Temple. Again, I don't know where the Kansas offer is coming in here.
He does not have a Kansas
offer. I don't know where. I mean, maybe he's told somebody that he wants to go to Kansas. But Strickland would be a good get, but he's another guard. Okay. Does Forrester have any interest in following in his father's footsteps? Yeah, we just talked about that. There's a good chance that he could end up at Temple. Is Parks any good? Talked to Chris Clark about that already. It sounds like they're seeing some progress out of him. What's happened with Trey Lowe? We've probably covered this several hundred times. It's unfortunate. It sounds like he will not play basketball again. Again, he's been with the team. He's recovered from his accident. He's a terrific, terrific kid. But we have not been told. Again, if something changes, more power to him. But he's continued to try to work out and stuff. But I don't get any indication that he's going to be able to play again next year. Lastly, any chance or interest regarding Javon Quinterly from the former McDonald's All-American who was at Villanova, is transferring out, or is he damaged goods? No. I mean, Temple's not in the mix there. I don't think they're interested. I think a lot of programs, I'm sure he'll end up somewhere. Too good to not end up somewhere, but no, it's not going to be at Temple. So, next question comes from Steve Oscareggi on Twitter. He had one earlier for Chris. This one's football related. How will the new offense that was run heavy at Northern Illinois work with Anthony Russo, and can Arashma Parks compete for the backup center spot? We read that one before. So let's just focus on his football question. How will the new offense that was run heavy at Northern Illinois work with Russo? We've talked about this before, but worth revisiting. You guys talked to Mike Uremovich, or you spoke with him.
I did.
And, talked more about just adapting to his personnel, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he said what you wanted to hear, which is that he'd be foolish to kind of fit his offense to the personnel if the personnel doesn't fit the offense. Mm-hmm. So I think you will see that, they're going to try to run the ball. I think every football team in the nation is going to try to run the ball. But I don't think that means necessarily they're always going to run up in a two tight end, I formation or anything like that. I think there will be times that you see that and you see some power football, but I also think they're smart enough to realize that they have a good set of wide receivers, and they have Isaiah Wright, who sounds like he's going to get some time in the backfield, see some time in the slot, see some time outside, see some time everywhere. So I think I wouldn't expect to rewind the clock back to 2011 with Steve Adazio, where you're just running the ball 50 times, 60, 70 times a game. But I would expect to see more offense. But they have talent in Anthony Russo, and I think he's as good of a deep ball thrower as they've had in a while.
Right, and you have some receivers. Randall Jones and Freddie Johnson have been hurt during the spring, so we haven't seen much of them. But I mean, those two guys can get down the field in a hurry. So I mean, I think the offensive staff is obviously very conscious of the fact that they have some good receivers and, a really good quarterback. So, I would expect them to throw the ball plenty and air it out.
Speaking of wide receivers, Sean, the next question.
Yeah, so the last one to finish things out here comes from Dr. Drew on Twitter. How big of a loss is Sean Ryan? Were you surprised he got picked up by a program as strong as West Virginia?
Well, I mean, if you would ask me in January, somebody very close to me, I reported it that he was planning on staying as of probably around January 15th. Somebody very close to him who was in his ear at that time said, hey, he's going to stay. And that was the plan at that point. I think some people got into his ear between now and then and kind of changed that. But, there was definitely a time through all those transitions with Diaz and Collins leaving and all that. I think he was willing to stay through it. And then some guys got into his ear, said, you might want to look to go Power 5. And now he'll have to sit out a year. And, obviously, he transferred Power 5, goes to West Virginia. I don't know about the fit, but, for me, I don't know. I think Temple's going to be just fine. I think they have plenty of talent at receiver. I really do. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I agree with that. I mean, Sean Ryan was talented, and Sean Ryan was a big get, but Sean Ryan was always kind of a strange commitment in the sense that even when he was supposed to enroll in January, he was taking an official visit to Pitt 2 weeks before he was planning on showing up and moving to Temple's dorms. So I think, there was always somebody in his ear. I think they'll be able to weather the storm just fine. To answer that question, am I surprised to get picked up by a program as strong as West Virginia? Yeah.
Yeah, because we talked about this earlier this week.
To be quite frank, I mean, you rarely see a guy leave after his true freshman year without. And it's not like he put up 100 catches, 1,500 yards. He had a good freshman year. He saw the field, but he put up 150 yards. You normally see them, if they're going to transfer, they go down. The only other offers he had once he entered the transfer portal
This was the weird thing, yeah.
Buffalo, Western Illinois, and I think Delaware. Mm-hmm. So you had 2 FCSs, a MAC school, a good MAC school, but a MAC school, and then out of nowhere a Big 12 school. So a little surprised. Best of luck to him.
Mm-hmm. We do have one late question coming in on Twitter from at Mr. Stowe on Twitter. He says, "Gah, if I'm not too late, I'm sure I am. The role of Mark Macon with the club." So again, Chris couldn't talk about. We're hearing that Jason Ivey, 2 former Temple players, Jason Ivey and Mark Macon, will probably join the staff and some off the bench roles as Kyle packs up his laptop here.
I want to get home.
Yeah. They haven't been officially announced, so again, Chris wasn't going to be able to talk about them. Yes, unless something changes, it sounds like Mark Macon will be in some sort of off-the-bench role. What exactly that job is going to be, I don't know, but he won't be out on the road recruiting. The 3 bench guys, as you know already, Jimmy Faraday, Monty Ross, and Chris Clark, those will be the guys recruiting. Raheem Mapp staying as director of basketball operations. Aaron, obviously, the head coach. But Mark will be in some sort of role. We just don't know the official title just as of yet. So that'll do it for this week. Huge thank you to Chris Clark. Great stuff. Always enjoy talking to him. Again, keep an eye out for some recruiting news regarding Ty Strickland and maybe Jake Forrester in the coming days, maybe next week or 10 days or so. We'll keep you updated as we always do on that front. We'll have plenty of coverage for you this coming Saturday at the Cherry and White Fest, and we'll have plenty to talk about next week. So thanks for joining us this week, and we will talk to you soon.